Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing really well. Those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Heather and I am a professional viola player living and working in the UK, and I made this channel just to kind of bust some myths in the industry, talk about some things that nobody really wants to talk about, and just kind of inject some positivity, I guess. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, then please do like this video and subscribe to my channel. It would be wonderful to have you. And yeah, let's get into it. So this video is very much a follow-on from last week's video, which I will link up here, and that was basically just musical jargon. So words that you've heard musicians chuck around, often they're like little acronyms and stuff, and you're just there like, I have no idea what that means, but you didn't really want to ask because you didn't, maybe they were mid-flow, and you know. This is very much a follow-up to that, but it's a little bit more actual questions that you have that you've always wanted to ask maybe musicians in your life, or when somebody says to you, oh, I'm a musician for a living, blah blah blah, you immediately go, I really want to ask this question but I don't want to look stupid. And that's hopefully where I come in, because I very firmly believe that there is no such thing as a stupid question. Like, if it's not your industry, it's not your field of expertise, like, why would you know? Do you know what I mean? Like, in a good way. Thank you so much to everyone that sent in questions and stuff like that. I got quite a few from friends and family, which was quite funny, because definitely some of these I was like, you know what, I can actually picture the moment that that question came to your mind. So first one I had was, who's better, Mozart or John Williams? Which I actually loved as a question, because so many people think that musicians are going to get super snobby about composers because we only play composers from like 300 years ago, blah 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 blah, and that we can be quite dismissive of current composers. Now, I actually think that film composers, and John Williams in particular, are some of the greatest geniuses of our time. They are writing some incredible music, which is for sure a heck of a lot more fun to listen to than Mozart. So in my opinion, probably John Williams. Are adult lessons worth it? This came from a new mum who's just had her little baby, and she's kind of looking towards the future when hopefully they will start an instrument, and she wants to be able to support them in that. So 100,000 million %, yes, it is worth it. For me as a teacher, the pupils that go the furthest, are the most engaged in their lessons, and also just enjoy it the most, are those whose parents are supporting them and getting behind them in their studies. Learning an instrument is not easy, and having that support from a parental figure can just be the absolute changing force. For example, my mum used to sit in on all of our lessons and all of our practice sessions, which I mean, I hated at the time, being perfectly honest. Sorry, mum. But now I literally thank you, mum, because I wouldn't be where I am today without that push and without that support. So having a bit of musical knowledge in your arsenal for when your kid turns around and goes, "Mummy, what's that note?" you can help them. So if you are an adult and you are either just thinking of learning an instrument for yourself, or if you're also wanting to support your child as they learn an instrument, please just go for it. You will never ever regret it. And also you'll find that learning an instrument as an adult is a lot easier than learning when you are much younger. You'll just remember the information, and it's a lot easier to describe stuff musically to an adult, I find, than it is to somebody who's really young. So yeah, absolutely go for it. You will never regret it. If you're in the Cardiff area, hit me up. What is the difference between a piece and a song? This is one of my personal bugbears, and forgive me anybody who has been on the receiving end of this rant before. Genuinely sorry. A song is music with words, so it's sung effectively. Obviously that's a very kind of simple explanation, but it's also kind of true. So song, something with lyrics and somebody singing it, and then a piece is just instrumental. Pachelbel's Canon is not a song. Stop calling it a song. It isn't a song. It is a piece. Are there any lyrics? Is anybody singing? No, not a song. Apologies. Are viola players always violinists? Now, this is a little bit of a contentious one, so I will do my best to be diplomatic. I think this often comes from because lots of viola players start out on the violin. It's just often a lot easier. It's often what they're doing in schools. You're less likely to have a teacher teaching beginner viola as well as violin in schools, and it's just kind of the way the system often works. Now, I have to admit that I am one of these people. So now viola is my primary instrument, but I did violin up to my grade 8, and then I switched over to the viola after learning it for a little while because I genuinely enjoyed it. I enjoyed its role in the orchestras a little bit more, and so I chose to go off to music college and focus my studies on the viola rather than the violin. However, I am still perfectly happy and capable of playing on the violin. I do most of my session work on the violin because it's just kind of the way it's worked out for me, and I'm more than happy to do that. So you will often find that viola players are very, very happy to switch between the two, but not everybody does play the violin because not everybody did start out on it, and a lot of people just choose to focus solely on the viola. There are obviously similarities. You hold them the same way and they have a similar technique, but it's not the same. So I think if you're ever kind of wondering if somebody does also play the violin, by all means ask, but don't take it as a given. How long will it take me to learn an instrument? Now, this is kind of an impossible question to answer in many ways, but the short answer is a lot longer than you think. Playing an instrument is extremely difficult in lots of ways, and I know I think I've said that already in this video, but I don't want to sort of do it down, and I also don't want to kind of lead you down the garden path thinking it's going to be super easy, but it is. I mean, it's the most rewarding thing you can ever do. There are so many benefits. It's another video in and of itself, but it will take you quite a while. Obviously, it totally depends on your natural musicality, whether you have any musical background beforehand, and also, you know, just what instrument are you choosing to pick up. So for example, a lot of people find that the piano is quite a good place to start because you don't have to worry about getting the notes in tune. They're kind of already there for you, but then obviously you have the added difficulty of having to read 2 lines of music, one for your right hand, one for your left hand, and there's lots of other things that some people will either find quite easy and they'll take to, or they might find that really tricky. Whereas obviously with a string instrument, you have all of the tuning and you don't have frets and all that kind of stuff. And then woodwind and brass, you've got, you know, various different techniques which add their own level of difficulty there. But lots of people start with something, you know, like the piano or the guitar, and they can be really, really great because again, with the guitar, similarly with the piano, with the keys, you've got frets, which just give you a bit of a guide on where the notes are, where to put your fingers and stuff, which can just be so helpful when you're starting out. So yes, very unhelpfully, I guess I can't really answer that question, but it will take you a little while, but stick at it because once you've learnt it, it never really goes away. You can pick it up again quite quickly. Which is bigger, violin or the viola? Now this is the question I get quite a lot, but sort of a little bit spun on its head. When I tell people that I play the viola, they go, is that the bigger one or the smaller one? And I brought some props to demonstrate. This is my viola, this is my violin. So you can see, struggling to get them in shot, you can see that the viola is quite a piece bigger than the violin. So to answer the question, viola is the bigger one, cello is bigger again, then you have the double bass, which is the one that is a nightmare to drag around everywhere. So yes, smaller, bigger, viola, violin. What does the conductor actually do? Answer, often not a lot. No, I'm very much joking. Do not come for me, conductors. You guys are great. So a conductor is there to primarily keep everybody together. When you have a big orchestra, you can't possibly hear everybody yourself as an individual. So the conductor is there to kind of bring everyone together, to give like a focal point, and also they run the rehearsals and they will dictate the majority of the musical ideas. So in rehearsal they'll tell us, you know, the style that they want it done in or how they feel a particular bit should go. So they mold the musicality of a performance in a big way. And they also just kind of keep everybody in time and keep everyone together. So they are hugely important, and yes, big love to all the conductor friends out there. What should you wear to a concert? This is actually something I get a lot, and it kind of, I don't know, it sort of makes me sad because people think that they have to super dress up to go to a classical music concert, or that it's just a really posh thing, or that they have to, yeah, whack out their best suit or whatever. And I mean, if you want to do that, by all means go for it, but you don't have to. You can wear whatever you want, honestly. It's absolutely fine. It's a lot more chilled. than maybe people think. When should I clap? This is again something that we get asked quite a lot. Generally speaking, I mean, just follow everybody around you if you're not totally confident, but clap when the conductor turns around and acknowledges the audience. Often pieces are split up into what we call movements, and they're a bit like chapters in a book. They're, you know, little kind of breaks, but they're not the end. So often the orchestra will kind of relax a little bit, everyone will have a little bit of a shifty, and, you know, people will kind of cough and clear their throats and stuff, but it isn't the end of the piece. So people don't tend to clap because that can kind of interrupt the flow of things. So yeah, easy one is just to wait until the conductor turns around and kind of, you know, relaxes and acknowledges that the audience is there. How to pronounce viola? It is not a viola, it is a viola. Now, I always say viola is the flower, viola is the instrument, because it's kind of an easy distinction, but I do understand it's slightly confusing because obviously you have a violin, so viola would kind of make sense, but it's primarily pronounced viola, especially in the UK. It might be different in other places in the world, but I've only ever heard it called a viola, so we're sticking with that. What are desks in an orchestra? And this actually came off the back of last week's video because I didn't actually explain what a desk was when I was talking about it in that video, so I do appreciate that that might have been a bit confusing, and apologies. But a desk is a music stand. So in an orchestra you'll have two people to each music stand, and we just call them desks. To be perfectly honest, I have no idea why, but yeah, not like a desk like you put your computer on, it's a music stand desk. Why can't I hear what you're working on / when will it be finished? Now, this kind of ties into why musicians often don't like being put on the spot to perform. We are notorious perfectionists and we do not really like showing people things that we've either written or been working on until we feel like they're ready. So if you have a musician friend or a family member and you're like, oh, can I like hear that music you've been writing, or can you play me something? And they say no, please do respect that and don't push them on it, because it can actually be quite upsetting to have to perform something that you don't feel is ready yet, and it could be quite anxiety producing. So yeah, I do totally understand that you'd be like, well, why not? It's your job, like it should be fun. And you're like, well, yes, it is fun, but it's not ready yet, and it can be a bit awkward. So yeah, if somebody does say, no, I don't really want to right now, please just respect that. It's because they want you to hear it in its best state and its entirety, and so kind of take it as a compliment because it probably means they care what you think. Do you still listen to music around the house? Some musicians will have music on permanently and they can't cope with quiet and they just want to have it on in the background all of the time, and then other people, it immediately puts them into work mode and they just don't want to think about it. So I think this is quite individual. So for me, I actually don't listen to a huge amount of music, but I listen to a lot of podcasts and YouTube videos, and I like having people talking in the background, which is more my extrovert nature, I guess, coming out. But I do really love having music on when I need to focus. So when I am doing a task and it requires quite a lot of concentration, that's when I'll put the music on. And also I often listen to music to cheer myself up, or if I'm in a particularly down mood and I kind of want to wallow in it, then I will also use music to facilitate that. So I guess I'm a little bit of a mixture of both, but often, particularly straight after a concert, I don't want any music because I kind of need to decompress from the whole thing. So yeah, that's a very individual thing, but I think primarily musicians will often have quite a lot of noise going on, even if it's not music. Do you ever go on holiday? I think this question came from the perspective of, as a freelancer, we're often very scared to take holiday because, you know, that's 2 weeks of unpaid leave effectively. And this is something which I know I've definitely struggled with trying to explain to people in the past when they're like, but you're self-employed, you can go on holiday for as long as you like. And I'm like, well, yeah, but could you survive 3 weeks with 0 pay? So this is another kind of respect them on it kind of a thing, because they absolutely should be taking holiday, but sometimes they don't feel like they can. So I think it's a case of, if somebody does seem a little bit upset with not being able to take a holiday, do chat to them about that, because it may well be that they need to kind of readjust the whole work-life balance situation. But often it can be quite a difficult thing to do as a musician, and also you miss it. Like if I go abroad and I don't take my viola with me, I genuinely get separation anxiety a little bit, so that can play into it as well. But yes, we do take holiday, just maybe not as often as we should. And then last but not least, why do violas play from a separate clef? Now, clefs are something which I can kind of do a whole video on describing, so if you would be interested in that, let me know. But basically, violins play off the treble clef, cellos play off a bass clef, and then violas are the only instruments in the orchestra to play off the alto clef. Now, this kind of stems from when choral singing was massive and everyone was writing those parts, and because the viola kind of takes the alto line, so you have your soprano, your alto, your tenor, and your bass, the altos read music in the alto clef, and that kind of just translated over to the viola. But it's a valid question because it's the only instrument that still uses it. Because we just like to be special, okay? And that's all of them. I hope that was kind of interesting and informative. If you want me to kind of deep dive into any of these subjects on their own, please do let me know. I do have a few ideas that came off the back of talking to people about their questions that they had. So I'm really excited to do those videos. But if there are any ones in particular, please do let me know. If you have enjoyed this video and you would like to see more from me, then please do subscribe to my channel. It would be so good to have you. And I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great week. I hope you're doing okay. We in Wales are getting locked down again, which is all good fun. But yes, please do take care of yourselves. Stay well, both physically and mentally. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.